say something that might land a little uncomfortable. If your relationships keep hurting you, draining you, or breaking your heart, it's not because you're unlucky in love. It's because you were never taught how sacred relationships actually work. You were taught attachment. You were taught sacrifice. You were taught to abandon yourself and call it love. But in Lemurian consciousness, love was never meant to cost you your soul. And if you ever wondered why the same relationship patterns keep repeating, different faces, same wounds, today is going to answer that. Because this episode isn't about fixing your partner. It's not about manifesting the one. And it's definitely not about bypassing your pain with pretty spiritual language. This is about unity consciousness. The truth that every relationship is an initiation, a mirror, a sacred contract designed to return you to yourself. And once you see relationships through this lens, you will never love the same way again. So if you're ready to stop chasing love, if you're ready to stop overgiving, people-pleasing, and abandoning your own needs, if you're ready to experience relationships as a space of expansion rather than exhaustion, then stay with me. This video will change how you love forever. So welcome, my loves. If you're new here, hi, I'm Cherry. I'm a spiritual coach, energy healer, numerologist, and guide for those of you who are done betraying yourself in the name of love. I work with frustrated people pleasers, big-hearted souls who learned early on that love meant earning it, proving it, or sacrificing themselves for it. And today we're stepping into something deeper than relationship advice. We're stepping into Lemurian remembrance, because in Lemuria, relationships were not built on fear of abandonment. They weren't built on attachment, control, or emotional hunger. They were built on resonance, two whole beings, two sovereign souls, meeting not to complete each other, but to amplify each other. And throughout this video, I want you to listen not just with your mind, but with your body, with your heart, with the part of you that already knows this truth, even if you've never been shown how to live it. Now, unity consciousness is not we're all one as a cute spiritual concept. It is a lived reality. It means there is no other, no enemy, no survivor, no villain. Every relationship you experience is consciousness meeting itself through form. So what is the Lemurian perspective on relationships? In Lemurian culture, relationships were understood as energetic agreements. You didn't choose partners based on attraction alone. You chose based on frequency, because they knew something modern society has forgotten. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. So when you view relationships through unity consciousness, blame will dissolve, victimhood will dissolve, and so does the fantasy that someone else is meant to fix you. The mirror you've been avoiding, here's the part people don't like to hear, but I love you enough to say it. If someone keeps abandoning you, where have you learned to abandon yourself? If someone keeps crossing your boundaries, where are you betraying your own needs? If you keep attracting emotionally unavailable partners, where are you emotionally unavailable to yourself? This isn't punishment. This is initiation. Relationships are not here to hurt you. They are here to wake you up. I want to go into unity consciousness versus codependency. Because unity consciousness says, I am whole and I choose you. Codependency says, I am incomplete and I need you. And so many of you were taught the second one and told it was love. So I want to take you through something. Think of a relationship that has hurt you deeply. And instead of asking, why did they do this to me? I want you to ask yourself, what part of me was being called home? This is unity consciousness in action, not spiritual bypassing, not self-blame, but radical self-responsibility. In the next part, we're going deeper into the sacred relationship wounds, soul contracts versus trauma bonds, the twin flame mythology versus the truth, and how to stop repeating karmic loops in love. This is where things get real. But before we go any further, I want you to radically be honest with yourself, not spiritually polite, not I've healed this already. I need you to be honest, because if you're listening to this episode, chances are you've experienced at least one relationship that cracked you open, and not in a cute Instagram quote way. We're talking about the kind of relationship that drained you, confused you, made you question your worth, or kept you stuck in cycles you swore you'd never repeat again. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. That relationship didn't happen to you. It happened for your awakening. And until you understand why certain people keep showing up the way they do, you'll keep calling in bad luck instead of initiation. So let's move on to soul contracts versus trauma burns. Let's clear something up right now, because this confusion keeps people stuck for years. Not every intense connection is sacred, and not every I can't let go bond is divine. Some are soul contracts, some are trauma bonds, and they feel very different. And once you know how to sense them, you understand the soul contracts, the Lemurian understanding. Because in Lemurian teaching, soul contracts were sacred agreements made before incarnation. They existed to awaken dormant aspects of your soul, activate specific lessons, be the catalyst of growth through reflection, not suffering. Soul contracts didn't require you to lose yourself. They don't demand self-betrayal. They don't trap you in confusion. They challenge you, yes, but they also expand you. Now, trauma bonds, on the other hand, are formed through abandonment wounds, nervous system deregulation, fear of being alone, unhealed inner child needs. And here's the kicker. Trauma bonds feel urgent. Soul contracts feel grounded. So if you're feeling addicted to someone, if you're feeling anxious without them, if the relationship thrives on chaos, the hot and cold behavior, or emotional chasing, that's not divine love. That's your nervous system begging for safety. So let's move on to the twin flame myth and what Lemurian actually taught. Let's talk about the twin flames, because I'm about to lovingly ruin a fantasy that keeps people stuck. The modern twin flame narrative has done more damage to spiritual people than we realize. It romanticized, emotionally unavailable, abandonment, emotional addiction, waiting instead of living. In Lemurian wisdom, there was no hierarchy of souls, no better half, no runner and chaser, no one holding your wholeness hostage. The Lemurian truth about soul mirrors, yes, there are mirror souls. Yes, there are profound recognitions, but true soul mirrors do not require suffering to stay connected. Do not withhold love to teach you lessons. Do not activate obsession or self-abandonment. If someone only awakens you by hurting you, that's not divine timing. That's a lesson in boundaries. And some of you needed to hear that. So what's the real reason you keep attracting the same type? Let's get practical now, because awareness without embodiment changes nothing. You don't attract the same partner because you're broken. You attract them because your identity hasn't changed yet. You will continue to attract emotionally unavailable partners if your identity as the one who overgives, controlling partners if you identify as the peacekeeper, needy partners if you identify as the rescuer. Unity consciousness doesn't ask, why do they keep doing this to me? It asks, who am I being that makes this dynamic familiar? Let that land. I want to give you a practice to the ending of karmic loops. So close your eyes for a moment. Bring to mind a relationship pattern you are done repeating. Not a person, a pattern. Now place your hand on your heart and say very slowly, I release the role I no longer need to play to be loved. Feel that. Because this is the moment that loop starts to dissolve. Open your eyes when you're ready. I want to move on to the part where this is where unity consciousness becomes embodied. Not when you understand it, but when you choose yourself inside relationships. Because in Lemuria, love was measured by how much more embodied you became, how deeply you stayed connected to yourself, how much truth could be held without collapse. Anything that required self-erasure was not considered love. In this next part, we're moving into the heart-filled coherence, sacred boundaries as love, how to attract relationships without chasing, and a powerful heart-based activation to call in aligned connections. This is where relationships stop being painful and start becoming portals. Up until now, we've been dismantling patterns. We've been calling out conditioning. We've been pulling apart the stories you were taught about love. But now we move into the heart, because unity consciousness isn't lived in the mind. It's lived in the heart. And this is where Lemurian wisdom becomes embodied, not conceptual. Most people think love lives in emotion, but emotion fluctuates. Emotion reacts. In Lemurian teachings, love lived in coherence. Heart-filled coherence is the state where your nervous system feels safe, Your emotions are regulated. Your intuition is clear. Your boundaries are intact. It's the state where you are available for connection without abandoning yourself. So what was the Lemurian understanding of the heart? In Lemuria, the heart wasn't just emotional, it was electromagnetic. They understood that the heart emits a measurable field, trains other nervous systems, communicates faster than the mind, which means this: you don't attract love by thinking differently. You attract love by being regulated differently. And this is why so many people do the work, but still attract the same dynamics. They've changed their mindset, but not their heart field. So why do you keep oversharing, overgiving, overextending yourself? I'm going to lovingly call something out here, because so many of you think, if I just explain myself better, if I'm more understanding, if I give a little bit more, then they'll finally meet me. But oversharing is not intimacy. Overgiving is not love. And self-sacrifice is not sacred. The nervous system is truth. When your nervous system doesn't feel safe, you try to earn connection. When your heart field is in coherence, connection just happens naturally. So you don't need better communication. You need energetic safety within yourself. Now, boundaries are not walls. They are love in form. And this is where people get it twisted. Boundaries are not cold, harsh, selfish, or unloving. Boundaries are what makes love sustainable. So what was Lemurian boundary wisdom? In Lemuria, boundaries weren't spoken defensively. They were felt energetically. If something was misaligned, the body knew. And the response was simple: I choose differently. No drama, no justification, no over-explaining. Because when you are anchored in unity consciousness, you don't need permission to honor yourself. So I want you to place one hand on your heart and one hand on your lower belly. Take a slow breath in and an even slower breath out. Bring to mind a situation where you felt drained, resentful, or depleted in a relationship. Again, not the person, just the event. Now ask your heart, not your mind, what boundary wants to be honored here. Notice what comes up, whether it's a word, a sensation, or an image. That's your heart field communicating, because sacred union is not merging, it's co-regulation. So let's redefine sacred union, because this matters. Sacred union is not two wounded people merging. It's two regulated nervous systems choosing presence. So what does sacred union feel like? Calm, not chaos. Expansion, not contraction. Truth without fear. Space without abandonment. If love feels like anxiety, it's not sacred. It's just familiar. So how do you bring in relationships without chasing? And here's the answer most don't want. You don't call in aligned love by searching for it. You call it in by becoming unavailable for misalignment. When your heart field is coherent, you'll stop chasing. You stop explaining. You stop settling, and the field reorganizes around you. So I want you to imagine a soft golden light expanding from your heart, not pushing, not forcing, just radiating. This is the frequency that calls in sacred connection without the effort, without strategy. Now, in this final part, we're bringing everything together. Unity consciousness embodied, sacred relationships as daily practice, integration into real life, and a closing activation to anchor this work. This is where you stop learning about love and start living it. If you stayed with me this far, I want you to pause for a moment and acknowledge something. You are not the same person who pressed play at the beginning of this video. Something has softened, something has clarified, something has dropped into place. And that's because unity consciousness isn't something you learn. It's something that you remember. Now, let me bring it home into your life, your relationships, your choices, and your standards. Unity consciousness isn't floating around in bliss, pretending pain doesn't exist. It's deeply grounded, deeply honest, and deeply embodied. Unity consciousness is in real life. It looks like walking away without resentment, saying no without guilt, choosing peace over potential, letting people be who they are without abandoning who you are. It's knowing that love doesn't need to be earned and connection doesn't need to be chased. In Lemuria, relationships weren't something you fell into. They were something you practiced. So here's a check-in for you. Before engaging, ask, is my body relaxed or braced? Am I choosing or performing? Am I present or proving? These questions alone will save you years of pain. And when you outgrow people, this part matters because growth changes relationships. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let a connection complete. Unity consciousness allows completion without blame, love without attachment, gratitude without obligation. You're not abandoning them, you're honoring the contract that has already done its work. So close your eyes. Again, bring one hand to your heart and the other hand to your belly. Take a slow breath in and an even slower breath out. Now say gently or out loud if it feels right to do so. I choose relationships that honor my nervous system, my truth, my soul. Feel that settle. This is unity embodied. Open your eyes again, because this is the moment everything changes. When you stop asking, do they choose me? And start asking, do I choose myself here? When you become the standard, love rises to meet you. You weren't meant to lose yourself in love. You were never meant to disappear inside relationship. You were never meant to shrink to be chosen. You were never meant to carry connection alone. Unity consciousness reminds you love is not found. It is embodied. So if this video cracked something open for you, if you recognized yourself in the pattern we named, if you're done repeating the same relationship cycles with different faces, then I want to invite you to a space where this work becomes personal. You can book a boundary strategy session. This is where we look at your relationship patterns, your energy, and your blind spots, and help you build boundaries that don't harden your heart. Just protect it. Or if you know people pleasing has been the core to your relationship pain and you're not quite ready for a one-to-one session, then down in the description box below, you'll find my freebies. One is about how to build your boundaries, and the other one is how to get connected to your Lemurian wisdom. And if you want to understand your relationship patterns at a soul level, then there's a numerology quick guide freebie book, also in the description box, where you know what your karma pattern is, what your soul mission influences, and how love attach and connect. And before we go, if this episode resonated, if it stirred something ancient and true within you, I would love for you to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and stay connected. This isn't just a channel, it's a remembering. So until next time, choose yourself, trust your body, and remember, love was never meant to cost you your soul. Bye for now.